Journey IFC strives to create safe spaces to worship God. Know that you are welcome just as you are, regardless of religious background or lack thereof, skin color, political affiliation, sexuality, age, culture, or any other label you own or society throws on you. You are welcomed and celebrated here just as you are.
I'm Ace. Our reading comes from the stories of the prophet Jeremiah, who is speaking the words of hope in the midst of exile. These are the words of the letter that the prophet Jeremiah sent from Jerusalem to the remaining elders among the exiles and to the priests, the prophets, and all the people whom Nebuchadnezzar had taken into exile from Jerusalem to Babylon. For thus says our God, only when Babylon's 70 years are complete will I visit you, and I will fulfill to you my promise and bring you back to this place. For surely I know the plans I have for you, says our God, plans for your welfare and not for harm, to give you a future with hope. Then, when you call upon me and come and pray to me, I will hear you. When you search for me, you will find me. If you seek me with all your heart, I will let you find me, says our God. And I will restore your fortunes and gather you from all the nations and all the places where I have driven you, says our God. And I will bring you back to the place from which I sent you into exile.
So I want to point out some things around here. You'll see there's a lot of journey history. We have the t-shirts up, we have pictures. Up here we have a thing of rocks we'll get to sign later. We have some birthday stuff. We have our banner, which is a really important piece of Journey's history. But right here we have this lemon tree. And so a year ago at our picnic, we planted this with hopes of what is going to come next, what is going to be fruiting. And I want you to notice that there are some lemons on here. There used to be more, but I think the dang squirrels got it. But they're not going to hold us down. But it is doing much better than my lemon tree at home. And I also want to note that 2 years ago around this time, we had a picnic, and that was when me and Gail came on staff. So it's been 2 years since I came here, and it's been a year since we planted this. And today we're going to celebrate. And so we're going to take some time to look back on Journey's past. So for some of you, this may be a refresher of sorts, but for others, this may be the first time you've heard some of these stories about this faith community we find ourselves in today. And my hope is that this will jog people's minds and memories, and we can all share these stories in the service and maybe even at lunch during our picnic. Our reading today came from the book of Jeremiah, who was this prophet during the time when the Israelites were exiled from their homes by the Babylonians. I was talking about this passage earlier this week with a journeyer, and I thought it was a striking passage to use into the context of retelling our story. Jeremiah was a prophet during a tumultuous time in Israel's history, and Jeremiah had been warning the people of their impending doom for quite some time. Yet he still wrote to these exiled away from their homes with words of encouragement and hope, also some challenging words that weren't so comfy to hear. But there's a piece from this text from Jeremiah that I hear so often that I didn't even know where it came from in Scripture. Usually it's like without the context. And in fact, I didn't know where it was from, and so I had to do a little Google search to really figure out where it was in the Scriptures. But it's this part that goes like this. For surely I know the plans I have for you, says our God. Plans for your welfare and not your harm, to give you a future with hope. These were the words that Jeremiah spoke to a hurting people in the midst of 70 years of forced exile. People who were taken away from their homes and transplanted into unknown Babylonian territories. Words of hope. A reminder that God wanted God's people to be well, to not be harmed anymore. We are then told that when we call on God, we will be heard. When we seek God, we will find God, and God will restore us to what has been taken from us, and we will return back to where it all started. which leads me into where it all started here, the story of Imperfect Faith Community. So in the summer of 2004, a man named Rick Diamond, who's this big goofy guy you might know, he had been in this, he's a little weird maybe. He had been an associate pastor at a large church in Austin called Riverbend, which still is here. He was there for 3 years. And Rick and his wife at the time, Leslie, left that church after there was some hurt from the leadership. It wasn't a pretty ending, to be honest. But it led Rick and Leslie away to explore what God was calling them to do next. They had done the traditional denominational thing for a while. They experienced the waters of this large, kind of less traditional church, but they hungered for something different. Some members of Riverbend approached Rick and Leslie and said, "Will you please stay in Austin and start a new church?" And someone mentioned that the Northwest YMCA was open, and so they said, "Yes, let's meet there, let's try it on, let's figure it out." So that is where Journey started, was in a YMCA. And so for a few Sundays, a group met and they worshiped together. Then they all took a week off to pray, and they asked God, what are we supposed to do next? There was this collective sense to start a faith community. And so in July of 2004, Imperfect Faith Community was created. Rick and Leslie Diamond held meetings in the homes of some of the community members to help everyone figure out what Journey should look like. They talked about, things like, what do you think God's dreams are for a faith community? And what would that faith community look like? They brainstormed and prayed, and some common ideas kept popping up for them. The ideas of love and servanthood, openness, caring for others. And the key scripture that seemed to sit right with them was when Jesus said, the most important commandment is this, to love the Lord your God with all your heart and mind and soul and strength. And the second is like it, love your neighbor as you love yourself. Since Jesus said everything was in that one commandment, Journey decided that was it. That was Journey's purpose, to love God and to love people. Imperfectly, though. So Journeyers met on Sunday mornings at the Northwest YMCA for about 2.5 years. And in the time, some of the original folks left, but new folks had come along, and Journey was kind of in this growth pattern. The children had Sunday school in the Y playrooms, but the teenagers had to meet in the hallway by the swimming pool, unfortunately. Groups of Journeyers began relationships with many Austin area charitable organizations. And so Journey, from the get-go, decided that it was going to commit to setting aside 10% of all of its income to be given away to those in need. And Journey has always kept this commitment, even in some really tough financial seasons. Journeyers also formed teams to help with youth and children and finances, prayer, caring for journeyers with needs, and even mission work. And over the time, the teams became known as the Heart Team, the Mind Team, the Soul Team, the Strength Team, and we added one we threw bones in there because we had to get some more stuff done. And this is all harking back to that scripture Jesus said mattered the most. So Rick taught, and Leslie led, and was kind of a creative background person for a lot of it. And more people came to Sunday gatherings, and Journeyers got to the Y early to set up and stayed late to make sure that everything was put away by 1 o'clock when the Y opened, and they had to sweep, mop, all of that, all in one morning. Journeyers led the music, they read the scriptures, they led prayers. This sounds familiar, we still do this today. They cared for kids and teenagers, and they learned and grew together. And they decided to call themselves Imperfect Faith Community, to reflect the journey in the wilderness many people found themselves in that period. A reminder that this faith community, not called a church intentionally, would be a place where people would gather together, would journey together, however imperfectly, through this wilderness called life. So in September of 2005, a man named David Gentiles, an Austin area pastor, joined the staff as the co-pastor. David was this funny, sweet, and courageous guy. He was experienced and wise. He had been in youth ministry for 30 years. And at Journey, David took on many roles, including worship leader and missions pastor. He was a great singer. David was a light, and his light still lingers in this community, although he has passed away. In time, Journeyers felt that God might be leading them to move into a space of their own. The Y just no longer fit. I mean, cleaning up by one every day is a lot of work, so that makes sense. They wanted a place where they could meet during the week for activities and classes, as well as offering that space without charge to nonprofit organizations and other groups that could use somewhere to meet. They looked at several different spaces over several months until finding a warehouse, and it was a warehouse. It looked like that on Industrial Terrace. I think it's now maybe a brewery. It's across from a Coca-Cola factory. It's in the middle of a manufacturing district. It's gorgeous. It's great. The space was big and had lots of potential. They could paint the walls, the floors, they could bring in waterworks, they could do all the things there. And so it felt right to them. So the journeyers prayed, and they decided with the help of God to make the commitment to move to the warehouse. And they saw it not as a permanent home, but kind of as a tent to be lived in for a while, with intention to be ready to move when God said to. So from the start, Journey was always this very nomadic tribe of people. In 2006, Stacy Baldwin joined Journey staff as our office manager, handling everything regarding finances, communications, event coordinations, sanity of Rick at times. And it was perfect timing. We needed her gifts and intelligence as we moved ahead. Also in 2006, that was when Leslie Diamond was officially brought on as a minister, and she had been leading all those years prior, but she really took her role really seriously and got paid for it, which is really nice. And she started heading the Heart team, and she was doing a ton of creative work, a lot of set design. She was leading our women's retreats and different women's groups. And so then eventually, teams of journeyers started working together on nights and weekends to take this old warehouse and renovate it so it could be a faith community. And it took them 9 months and a huge willingness on everyone's part to help make it happen. They built actual walls. They added restrooms, which did not exist. We have pictures of it later. They painted and decorated and even brought some of their own furniture from home. But on Christmas Eve of 2006, Journey held its first worship service in the warehouse, and it was a great celebration. Journey continued to grow, and now they could have classes and groups meet there during the week. They had vacation Bible school for the kids, and they had youth retreats, and they could create really cool special worship gatherings, such as the annual Easter prayer vigil. There were weddings and baptisms and parties and memorial services. There were classes and support groups and men's groups and women's retreats. Journey began training and ordaining journeyers for ministry in Journey and outside in the world. Also, many groups and organizations met at the warehouse all during the week for recovery, for fundraising, for parties, for workshops. In fact, 10 nonprofit organizations were birthed by Journey, encouraged and supported by journeyers, and we still support several of them to this day. And so Journey grew and continued to find more and more ways to impact Austin and beyond with God's love, including trips to Mississippi and Louisiana to help with Hurricane Katrina survivors, and in partnering with one of our current partners, New Life for Haiti. In December 2009, David Gentiles died in a sudden accident. It was a terrible blow for journeyers and for Journey overall. Journey lost a crucial part of our heart, and 2010 was a time of grieving and regrouping, but Journey too, as always, continued to follow Jesus and to live out its mission. However, this grief continued on. One way that Journey responded to the growth and ongoing opportunities of Journey was to hire a ministries support coordinator to help with the children, the youth, the strength ministries, as well as wrangling all of us and helping us make Journey work. Bethany Paul was the first to bring her gifts and her great energy and enthusiasm to this job, but in late 2012, that was when our own Vicky came on staff. Before that happened, the Great Recession was a challenge to Journey in 2010. As the fall months came, journeyers had some soul searching to do. They were wondering what was Journey's future, and where were they being called to next. They felt God telling them that their journey and time at the warehouse had ended and that it was time to move on. And so the summer of 2011, Journey moved to Beverly Hall, part of the Ross and Saunders School, the church which was, I think, formerly the Sanctuary. I'm not sure what they're called now. But they stayed there for about 4 years, making new friends and partnering with the sanctuary, the church across just the parking lot, even using their space for the kids' ministry stuff. And they even did occasional children's and worship events combined together. In 2013, Journey undertook a multi-month discernment process called Journey Dreams. What were the dreams God was giving us for what to do next in our efforts to share what Journey is about with the world around us? After lots of prayer and sharing and listening, Journey felt God lead them to buy a building. They found a lovely church, and I believe Julie Potts was a big effort in this one. I'm giving you props right now. We're not kidding. And they found this lovely church that was built in, I think, 1953 in the Crestview neighborhood where we stand right now, where we could not only gather but also give our message and gifts away. Our building here in Crestview on Woodrow has become home, enabling us to do more Journey things for ourselves and others than ever before, even hosting a magic camp throughout the summers. In 2016, after serving Journey since its beginning, Leslie Diamond left the staff of Journey to work for a nonprofit in Austin. Her many gifts continue to be celebrated with gratitude. We still love her fondly, and we just appreciate the 12 years of service and leadership she gave us. Leslie and Rick at that time had separated, and this was another point of grief for many Journeyers. We have always felt like a family here, so when this happened, it was a hard transition for many people, but we walked through it together. And throughout the years, Journey has gone on to ordain 13 Journeyers, including me, to all sorts of ministry opportunities. Some have gone on to work in nonprofits, some have become chaplains, some work in church ministry, some work in spiritual direction, and more. Journey ordains people into whatever work the ordination pilgrim feels called to. Journey has also been able to support several seminarians who have each served Journey as a pastoral intern. We have had 3 of them, so Gil Evers, David Hackenbrack, and then me, Jacob Aaron. And all 3 of us went on to be hired on as staff, which was really great for us, worked out. That's not always the easiest thing after seminary to get a job. And actually my internship is what led me here. I'd never heard of Journey until that, and then it eventually became my full-time gig after Rick retired. Journey was also hit like most faith communities when the world was struck with the COVID-19 pandemic. Journey moved online, and in this period we lost contact with a lot of Journeyers. For a community that was known as being huggers and people who loved being together, this distance was difficult. Journey moved to solely online services streamed via YouTube, but the community mourned the loss of in-person gatherings. In January of 2021, Rick Diamond announced that he would retire from his role as the senior pastor of Journey. Rick's guidance, leadership, charisma, humor, and love helped shape Journey to what it is. And after 17 years, hello there, Sadie. So after 17 years with Rick, Journey was now in a transition period of what do we do next. And this time, Gil Evers stepped up and filled the role of interim pastor. So over a period of 20 weeks, Gil led Journey through an oasis discernment process where the community was walked through Journey's history. During this time, I was brought on as interim worship pastor for our support for Gil and for our Sunday gatherings. The discernment process ended with a weekend-long retreat where we dreamed up what was Journey going to do next. And the list of possibilities, closing Journey's doors, was on the list. However, after prayer and communal discernment, Journey felt called to continue on as an imperfect faith community. By the end of the weekend, Journey had decided and recommitted to its mission and started searching for a new pastor. Me and Gail met and discussed the possibility of moving from interim positions into Journey's pastoral position. So with the support from more community discernment and God, I was hired on as a pastor along with Gail. And in September 2021, that was when we began serving as pastors, helping us restart what had become somewhat dormant through the COVID years. Last year we had another big thing happen. Our office administrator and longtime staff member Stacy Baldwin passed away from cancer. This was another blow to the community, but we were reminded that we need one another in our grief. This community holds Stacy in our hearts to this day because she was this quiet and steady and confident presence since the beginning, since the earliest days of Journey's history. And in the past couple of months, our pastor Gail Evers retired. I'm so glad you're here today, Gail. And it created another transition period, but we owe a lot of what Journey is now because of the work Gail did to help us get through the COVID transition and Rick's retirement. And that gets us roughly to today, I guess. Those are just the highlights. I could dive in so much more and you would be here all day. Journey looks a lot different than it did at the beginning. We have new leaders, we have new community members, we are much smaller, honestly, but we remain this close-knit family environment. Journey has been up through a roller coaster of events over the past several years, but Journey is still loving God and our neighbors, just like we promised to do from the get-go. So that takes me back to that passage from Jeremiah, a story written about a nomadic people with a desire to love God and to love their neighbors. A people going on an imperfect journey of sorts, attempting to hear God's voice in their lives, all while undergoing some really tough circumstances. Our history at Journey is all over the place. And like I said, the stories I just shared are just the tip of the iceberg. There are many more, and I hope we will hear those stories this morning and over lunch as we enjoy the picnic and as we celebrate 19 years of being a faith community. In telling our story, I am reminded how God has shown up in this place and in all of these people today. As we've returned back to where we started, I'm reminded of the passage from Jeremiah about the plans God has for us, plans for our well-being and not for our harm, a future of hope. As we look back and remember, may we also be inspired to hope for the future as we discern what God may be calling us to next. Honoring the saints of Journey that have gone on before us who have paved the way ahead. So may today be a celebration of all of this community, all of the people, all that it has brought for us this far. May it also be a celebration of where we will travel imperfectly together next. Happy birthday, Journey.
Okay. We come to the last part, and because the kitchen is getting cold, this blessing will be short. You look at all the pictures over here, and yes, there are times where we were many. But it's never been about the numbers here at Journey. I've always thought of this as a faith community that not only gathers, but scatters. So when you look at these people who are no longer here, they are the scattering of Journey Imperfect Faith. And one thing that I know for sure, I came at the time we were deciding if we were going to continue. And I'm going, now wait a minute, I just found this place. So I was on the opposite side of the table of John. Going, no, this can't happen. I know. But the one thing that I do know for sure is that what keeps Journey going is a belief that I've always held true since my early days in seminary back in the 80s. That God's work done in God's way will never lack God's supply. And that just doesn't mean financially. It means the people that make it happen. So, those of you at home, go grab some fried chicken so you can eat with us. And those that are here, enjoy the fellowship that is always Journey, because just like our resources, there's an abundance of food. So go in peace.